What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions obviously started their season very poorly. They started with a 1-3 record in their first month of play, and they looked like a pretty bad mess when it comes to a football franchise. However, after the bye week, after they had an extra week to prepare for the Jaguars, this team has looked like a completely different roster, a completely different team, and it's really tough to explain why. I mean, you can say that, yeah, maybe the competition is a little bit less talented, maybe the competition is a little bit worse than what we were playing, but the astronomical changes from weeks 1 through 4 to weeks 5 or to games 5 and 6 are incredible. I mean, you look at the stats, you look at the tape, this defense looks absolutely, it doesn't even look close to what we saw in the first month. Now, I don't know if we gave our players steroids. I don't know if we fired Matt Patricia and maybe hired somebody to wear a Matt Patricia costume. I don't know if they turned the matting difficulty down in real life or something, but all of a sudden, this defense looks like a completely different unit. And in today's video, I wanted to go over the change, go over the differences, and talk about, how much this defense has actually improved over the past couple of weeks, and give this coaching staff and give this defense the credit it deserves, because it went from one of the worst defenses in the NFL to honestly quite a good one in just a few weeks. Now, before we do get into the video, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying this Detroit Lions content, please consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It only takes 2 seconds out of your day to do so, and helps the channel out more than you could know. It helps me out more than you could know. So if you could just take those 2 seconds it does take to accomplish what I'm asking, it would be greatly appreciative and it would help the channel out so much. But with all that being said, let's get into talking about the changes that this defense has made and how much better it has gotten between weeks 4 and 7. Now, as I said, the Detroit Lions started their season in pretty rough fashion with a 1-3 record. They gave up over 31 points per game on average. They gave up over 170 rushing yards per game on average. Stafford didn't look right. This team didn't look right. This team looked like an absolute mess outside of week 3. And it looked like, this was another wasted season, a season that, even after week 4, after just 1 month of play, Lions fans were ready to throw in the towel and they were ready to say, all right, tank for Trevor, tank for Micah Parsons, tank for this guy or that guy, get a high pick in the draft, and let's move forward and on from Matt Patricia. And even I was one of those people saying that, it's time to move on from Matt Patricia. We need to fire him. We need to get rid of him now before, and maybe have a chance to have a successful season. However, after the bye week, this team got astronomically better. It's not even close to the same defense. If you look at the numbers, if I showed you just the numbers from weeks 1 through 4, what they averaged, in weeks 5 or weeks 6 and 7, what they averaged, you would not think they were the same team, because this defense got so much better seemingly overnight. And I don't really have an explanation for why that is, other than they're just being more aggressive and they're just playing to their strengths so much more, which is obviously great for the Lions. Looking at the difference between the 2 weeks, I obviously already mentioned that the Lions give up over 31 points per game and over 170 yards on the ground per game in the first 4 weeks. However, in week 6, they came out with an aggression that I have never ever seen from a Matt Patricia defense before. They came out passionate, they came out angry, they were looking to knock heads off, they were looking to hit you in the mouth, they were looking to knock out bodies, and they were just looking to be aggressive. They were looking to play hard, and in that result, in that mentality of hitting hard, playing fast, playing aggressive, their defense got incredibly good over the past couple of weeks. Now, since week 6 and 7, when we played the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Atlanta Falcons, the Lions went from allowing 170 rushing yards a game to only 55 rushing yards a game, which by far, if they could keep this pace, would be the best in the NFL. Now, also with that, the Detroit Lions went from giving up over 30 points a game, over 31 points per game, to only allowing 19 points a game. That is a 2-score difference in the outcome of a football game. And obviously, the score differential and the fact that we're making offenses one-dimensional on offense is a huge factor in why the past 2 weeks the Lions are 2-0 and they are an undefeated team after their bye week. The defense is playing great. I already mentioned the defense. Obviously, the rushing yards have gone completely down. That is dropped. I believe the number one rushing defense in the NFL right now averages giving up just over 66 yards a game. The Lions right now, after their bye week, are allowing just 55 yards a game on the ground. And it's not like we've played some bum running backs and some bum offenses. Our first game out of the bye, we were playing James Robinson, an undrafted free agent rookie, yes, but a undrafted free agent rookie that leads the NFL, or leads all rookie running backs in scrimmage yards. And in week 6, going into week 6, he had the most scrimmage yards by a rookie running back in the history of the NFL. So it's not like he's a bad running back, and we held him to, I believe, just under 30 yards of rushing on the day. Then we went into Atlanta and we played a really talented Todd Gurley, a dude that is a former first-round pick, former offensive player of the year. I know he's not quite the same player he used to be, but Todd Gurley is still a phenomenal running back, and we held him to just under 60 yards on the game. This rush defense got really good over the bye week, and I don't know why, other than they're just being aggressive. They're playing faster, they're playing more aggressive, they're more willing to tackle, they're wrapping up, they have a little bit cleaner technique, and this defense is just playing so much better than we saw before the bye. It's not just the defense either. Matthew Stafford, after the bye week, looks incredibly sharp. He looks so much more poised in the pocket, so much more confident, so much more determined, and so much more decisive than what we saw in the first 4 weeks. And I know part of that has to do with Kenny Golladay coming back and him building a little bit more chemistry with Kenny Golladay after Golladay missed the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. But, in the first 4 weeks, Stafford looked a little frantic. He looked a little uncomfortable in the pocket, even though he was getting pretty good protection. He was making some poor decisions. He was making some poor throws. He did not look like the Matthew Stafford that we saw in 2019. However, after the bye week, Matthew Stafford has come out and put up really good numbers in back-to-back games. He's looked really decisive, really sharp. I haven't really seen him really overthrow or anything wildly overthrow or underthrow any of his targets down the field. The wide receivers are making better plays down the field. We're getting more aggressive. We're just throwing more jump balls, letting our players go make plays down the field, and that is working. We're relying on our running game a lot more. We're using DeAndre Swift, especially in week 6, a lot more. We saw in week 6, he had over 120 rushing yards, I believe, over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns on the game, which is something no rookie has done since Barry Sanders has been here. This team is so different from week 4 to week 6. This team is so incredibly different. They went from having one of the worst defenses in the NFL to having one of the best defenses in the NFL, or at least one of the best rushing defenses in the NFL. They went from a shaky quarterback at best, top 15 at best, to arguably a top 10 quarterback in a matter of weeks. Their wide receivers went from being average and playing at an average pace to looking elite once again. Kenny Golladay in the past 2 weeks has absolutely and thoroughly dominated his opponents, no matter who was lined up against him. This team looks so different, and this team looks so much better than what we saw in the previous 2 weeks. I know you can look and point at the fact that the Jags have 1 win and the Atlanta Falcons have 1 win, and that is the only reason that we are 2-0, but that just isn't the case. The Lions have, maybe they've played weaker opponents, but they've played some really good football. And yes, there have been mistakes. Yes, there have been flaws. There have been too many penalties. There have been, too many free rushers. There have been too many times that the play calling is too predictable. But overall, this team is getting better every single week. Every week, I see them improve on something. Every week, I see them get a little cleaner, a little sharper, a little better. And every single week that they get better, they're obviously playing better. And this week is where it needs to come in the most. This week, we're playing a very good 4-2 Indianapolis Colts team that I will be reviewing tomorrow. A team that is obviously 4-2, has a winning record in the AFC, has played some pretty decent teams this year as well. And this is going to be a huge test for the Lions, but all I've seen them do this year, all I've seen them do since the bye week is get better, be aggressive, play elite defense. When's the last time we could say the Lions had an elite defense, and especially an elite rushing defense? This team looks so much better, and I'm not gonna lie, I was ready to throw in the towel on Matt Patricia. I was ready to say, okay, it's time to move on. I said it. I made multiple videos on it. I thought it was time to move on from Matt Patricia because his defense was bad as a defensive head coach. That cannot happen. This team was obviously 1-3. They were losing to teams that they should have been beating. They were losing games that they should have been winning. And I was ready to throw in the towel and give up on Matt Patricia. And while I'm not going to sit here and say Matt Patricia has saved his job just yet, if he keeps putting up numbers like this, if his defense keeps performing like this, and the offense can get a little bit better, just like a little bit more creative, a little bit more aggressive, and this offense can get just a little bit better, this team can accomplish a lot in the 2020 season. This 2020 season is still young. We're not even halfway through it yet, and the Lions are currently a 500 team that is looking really, really hot and looking to go into an Indianapolis Colts game with a lot of confidence and a lot of momentum. While I'm not ready to say Matt Patricia is the right guy yet for this team, why I still think Matt Patricia should be fired at the end of the year, you cannot argue with the results. I pride myself on saying that I call things how I see it. I like to think that I keep bias out of a majority of my videos and a majority of my opinions. I can't argue with the results. Matt Patricia's defense, whether he's been coaching it or not, whether he's stepped down and had a lesser role in calling the defense or not, whatever he's doing, it's been working, and I have to give him credit for that. If I'm going to criticize Matt Patricia, I also have to give him credit where it is due, and in this particular case, Matt Patricia deserves a lot of credit. He coached a pretty good game at Atlanta, had a really good challenge, was calling a pretty decent game, and whatever he's doing, whatever Matt Patricia is doing, whether it be stepping down, whether it be stepping back and giving Corey Undlin a little bit more room to maneuver, a little bit more freedom when it comes to defensive play calling, or whether Matt Patricia has just changed his philosophy and he is the one calling the plays, whatever it is doing, whatever Matt Patricia is doing, it is working right now, and it is looking really, really good from a defensive perspective. I do not want Matt Patricia to fail as a head coach. I do not want him to be a bad head coach. I would never root for anybody on Detroit to fail just so I could be right. I want to be wrong on Matt Patricia, and while I'm not going to say that I am wrong on Matt Patricia yet, if he keeps putting up performances, if his defense keeps performing like this, if he keeps coaching really good games like we saw at Atlanta and like we saw in Jacksonville, it won't be too long before I have to second guess my own opinions, and it won't be too long before maybe I agree with some people that maybe Matt Patricia can be the guy here. Again, I'm not ready to admit that quite yet, but if his defense keeps performing, if he keeps coaching like he coached in Atlanta, I think that he is coming into his own as a head coach. I think that he is starting to learn and figure some stuff out in the NFL, and if the Detroit Lions continue to win, if the defense continues to play well, and if he continues to show that he is improving and growing as a head coach before the end of the season, I might have to second guess myself, and I might have to take a second look at Matt Patricia's tenure in the Motor City. Now, with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Again, I just wanted to go over and give this defense and Matt Patricia and Corey Undlin some credit. This defense went from giving up over 170 rushing yards a game to under 55 rushing yards a game. This defense went from giving over 31 points a game to just under 20 points a game. I mean, this defense, the performances they put up in the past 2 weeks have been really good. Phenomenal performances by this Lions defense, and I needed to give this team credit because I've criticized them a lot over the time I've been on YouTube. I've criticized Matt Patricia. I've criticized this defense a lot, but if I have to criticize them, if I'm going to criticize them, I also have to give them credit where it is due. And over the past 2 weeks, they have done everything that has been expected, everything that has been asked of them, and they have been playing at a super, super high level over the past couple of weeks. And for that, I commend Matt Patricia. For that, I commend Corey Undlin, and for that, I commend the Detroit Lions defense for honestly carrying us to a couple of wins over the past couple of weeks. Now, with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. If there is Lions news before tomorrow, then I will obviously make a video letting every single person know. But until then, that is all I got for you guys right now. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you all tomorrow with more Lions content. Bye, guys.